Canfield. I'm writing a book called The Commonsense Entrepreneur. The purpose of The Commonsense Entrepreneur, the book, the video series that I'm making, my website, the consulting service, I'm hoping to create a series of seminars, and I want to help small businesses succeed. I know what it's like to run a small business. I've run a handful of small businesses myself in a number of fields, and I know so many people that run small businesses, and it always seems to be a struggle. And I want to help people do everything they can to eliminate the struggle and have some fun with their business. The purpose of the book is really going to be kind of a self-analysis checklist for entrepreneurs. A lot of us are self-taught when it comes to what we do for a living. We know, for instance, how to change the oil in a car. We're a good mechanic, or really good at landscaping, or good at some skill. But when it comes to running a business, you kind of fall into it as an entrepreneur. A lot of people don't have business training. They can't afford an MBA, and personally, I don't think you need one. But when you're self-taught, a lot of times it leaves gaps in your knowledge, and some of you may be aware of and be working towards filling in those gaps, but sometimes you're not even aware that there's a hole there. The point of the book, The Commonsense Entrepreneur, is going to be to help people systematically go through as a self-analysis checklist to find the things that a small business person ought to know in order to fill in those gaps before they become a problem. Now, the name Common Sense Entrepreneur, first of all, it's common sense because none of this stuff is rocket science. I'm not trying to give anybody an MBA. It's not advanced stuff. This is foundation stuff, because I know the things I've struggled with in my own businesses, the small businesses that I've worked with. It tends to be the basics where people get tripped up. They're so busy working from day to day that they either don't have time for or don't even realize that there are certain basic things that you have to do to keep your business balanced and focused. So it's basic foundation stuff. Make yourself a good foundation for your business. It's common sense stuff. Through the book, the website, and all of these other places, I'm always going to have pointers to places where you can get as much detailed information as you can stand about all of the advanced stuff. And an entrepreneur in the classic sense, someone who is starting up a small business, running their own business, building a business in order to sell it. But also, you can be an entrepreneur, have the entrepreneurial spirit, and work for somebody else. As an employee of other companies, I was always self-motivated. I was always looking for a better way to do something, the next thing to do. You can think like an entrepreneur, be innovative, embrace risk, do things like that, even if you're employed by someone else who signs your paycheck. For that matter, entrepreneurial thinking applies in a lot of hobbies. It can be, you may never consider that you're going to make a living as a musician, but if you understand a lot of these concepts, it can help you get more out of any hobby that you're doing. So most of the stuff will focus really on business things, but a lot of these principles apply anywhere in life. When I first started putting together all this information for entrepreneurs, I looked for an entrepreneurial association of some kind, something specifically a discussion group where people could talk about their business problems, and I couldn't find one. So Sue and I and our favorite client, Yolanda Richardson, who hopefully is going to be joining us later tonight, we put together a group that we decided to call the Northern California Association of Entrepreneurs. And we get together once a month to talk about, it's a self-education group. We want to encourage people to teach themselves how to run their business the best way. We want to share business ideas. You may have a really good method of sales or marketing. You may know a great accountant. We all know things that other small business people could benefit from. If we all talk to each other and share, everybody benefits. The old idea that if I teach you something I know, now I'm going to get a smaller piece of the pie, I don't think it was ever true, but it's definitely not true now. If I share something with you, we just made a bigger pie. And that's kind of the idea of the NCAE, is let's get together. If you have some challenge you're facing, we'll talk about it. You have a bunch of small business minds there, and all of us is smarter than any of us. We can come up with intelligent suggestions, And also there's a certain amount of accountability coaching there. When you come back to next month's meeting, you're hopefully going to have made some progress on the ideas that people provided for you to deal with the challenges you're facing. The 3 things I'm going to talk about tonight, and this is just really because most of the reason I'm writing a book, a website, doing a whole video series, is because there's a lot of detailed information, and this is really high level stuff. I just want to touch on a few things to give you an idea of what I consider common sense entrepreneurial thinking. So the 3 things I'm going to talk about tonight are entrepreneurial mentality, management, and marketing. Mentality, management, and marketing. So first of all, from the mentality perspective, I don't believe that business is about making money. Profit is to a business like health is to your body. You want health. You want to be as healthy as possible, but health is not the reason for your life. It's not a purpose in life. I'm going to be healthy. It's part of the process. Profit, if the only reason you're running a business is to make money, then you're missing something. Profit is part of the process, not the end result. I want to read a quote from Ray Kroc. You may have eaten in one of his restaurants. They have a big yellow M in front. Ray Kroc said, "If you work just for money, you'll never make it. But if you love what you're doing and you always put the customer first, success will be yours." Ray Kroc left behind $500 million when he died. And so he really believed that it wasn't just about making money. However, another quote, Zig Ziglar, motivational speaker, said, "Money isn't the most important thing in life, but it's reasonably close to oxygen on the gotta have it scale." So making a profit is part of the process. So if you're running a business, and now this part doesn't apply to hobbies, but if you're running a business, you should be making a profit, because otherwise you're not running a business, you're running a charity of some kind. If you're going to be selling something for money, a product, a service, whatever, you have to have relationships with people who have money. And the way that affects most small business people is that I'm fond of saying that there is no reality, there is only perception. People who always have money to spend tend to live in certain socioeconomic classes. They tend to have certain socioeconomic perceptions. And the way that affects small business people is you don't get to choose how other people perceive you. People who have money and are willing to spend it they have certain perceptions, and they're expecting certain things from a business person. So what that means is you need to be what they expect. Especially, and right now I'm specifically talking about appearance. I'm wearing a suit and tie tonight because I'm giving a business presentation. If I were going into the pub to pitch my band, of course this would be overkill, but if you show up to pitch your band in torn Levi's and an old t-shirt, you look just like every other band that came in. When you give the guy your CD, he's going to take it, but he'll probably throw it behind the bar. He may get around to listening to it, or he may just use it for a coaster for the next beer he sells. So I'm fond of referring to the people that you think should be doing business with you as your suspects. The people who are thinking about doing business with you, they're your prospects. So when it comes to appearance, you need to look like a business person. You have to be what your suspects and your prospects expect you to be, and a little more, or they're going to choose to do business with somebody else. Even though casual has become the norm, you have to be aware of dressing a little better than people expect, because that's really what they expect. It develops respect, and it puts you in a position of authority and leadership. John T. Malloy wrote the book Dress for Success in the late 70s. The stylistic guidance in it is a little dated, but the principles about why we dress certain ways in the Western world for business, and why it makes a difference psychologically, and how to use that to your advantage. And I don't mean taking advantage of people, but really you want to do everything you can to look and be successful. How we dress is something that's really significantly overlooked in most small businesses. So being aware of how you look makes a big difference. So when it comes to mentality, again, it's not just about making money. Profit is part of the process, not the end result. And although there's a whole lot more information about appearance, attire, things like that, in Dress for Success and Dale Carnegie's books and other places, but it's just important to be aware that we should review our personal appearance when we're in business, make sure we look like business people. And everybody, I go back and review things all the time. Every business person should go give it a review. Management. When it comes to managing, we're going to talk about real briefly about managing people and about managing money. When it comes to managing people, one place that almost every business seems to have a really hard time is balancing responsibility and authority. It seems like if you're responsible for something, you should have authority to make it happen. On the other side, if you have authority over some process, you better be held responsible for it. And
Hopefully I'm going to do this right.
yeah, hopefully you'll get that. Little clip from the greatest movie of all time, Joe versus the Volcano. Okay, it's my favorite movie.
I'll take care of this.
Yes, Mr. Watson.
How you doing, Joe?
Well, I'm not feeling very good, Mr. Waturi.
So what else is new? You never feel good.
Yeah, well, that's the problem, yeah. Anyway, I have a doctor's appointment today.
Another doctor's appointment?
Yeah.
Listen, Joe, what's this Stevie tells me about the catalogs?
Well, you only got 12.
How did you let us get down to 12?
I told you.
When?
3 weeks ago and then 2 weeks ago.
Did you tell me last week?
No.
Why not?
I don't know. I thought you knew.
Not good enough, Joe. Not nearly good enough. I put you in charge of the entire advertising library.
You mean this room.
I give you carte blanche how to deal with the materials in here.
You put the orders into the printer, Mr. Waturi, not me. That's how you wanted it.
You are not competent to put the orders into the printer. That's a very technical
I thought you were
job.
gonna explain it.
I was going to do better than that, Joe. I was going to make you assistant manager. I want to make you assistant manager, but you're not flexible. You're inflexible.
I don't feel inflexible.
You're inflexible. Totally. And what's this about a doctor's appointment? You're always going to the doctor.
What do you want from me, Mr. Waturi?
You're like a child. And what's this lamp for? Is there not enough light in here for you?
The fluorescents affect me. They make me feel blotchy, puffy. I thought this light would.
Get rid of the light. This is not your bedroom, Joe. This is an office. Maybe if you start treating this like a job instead of some kind of a welfare hospital, you'll shape up. And Joe, I want those catalogs.
Then please order them.
Watch yourself, Joe. Think about what I just said. You've got to get yourself into a flexible frame, or else you are no place. And take that light off the desk.
I will.
Do it now.
So the scene a little later when Joe quits is entertaining and not suitable for children. So Joe is responsible for the advertising library, but he doesn't have the authority to get new materials printed. Mr. Waturi has authority over the advertising library, but he doesn't hold himself responsible when it runs out. It's classic. The reason that's funny is because we've all seen it in business. If you have employees, especially if employees are responsible for customer service, for instance, they're responsible for customer satisfaction, then they need to have the authority to make this customer satisfied. if a refund, a discount, a freebie, whatever it is, if that's what it takes to make this customer happy, then your employee has to know they have the authority. First of all, they have to know what to do, and they have to know that they have the authority to make that happen. If they're responsible for it, they need the authority. If they don't have the authority to make this customer happy, then that customer had better have a way to get in touch with you, the manager, whoever it is has authority to make them happy, who can take responsibility. It works the other way around too. It's really common in business that a middle manager, an upper manager, has authority to say, we're going to get all of the help desk calls answered in this amount of time. We're going to move all of this stuff out of the warehouse in this amount of time. But then they make someone else responsible for it. They have the authority, but someone else is responsible. If you're going to move responsibility somewhere, you have to get this job done, then you better pony up the resources and the authority to let people get their job done. If not, then assign tasks, let people know what they need to do. But if you're going to keep the authority, you have to keep the responsibility as well. What happens in IT, I've worked in computers most of my adult life, and what happens in IT, and I am quoting an ex-employer of mine, managers love to say, well, if you just work faster, you can get more done in less time. And that's not how you assign authority when you're giving responsibility. So when an employee is responsible for something, they have to have the authority to make it happen. When there's not a balance between authority and responsibility, you end up with all of the games that happen in business where people are just trying to cover their own backsides instead of focusing on getting business done. So if someone's responsible for something, give them the authority to get the job done. Managing people is one thing. Managing money is a little more cut and dried, but most small business people really have a problem with money management, although most of them don't realize it too. This frightened me. The Association of Certified Fraud Examiners, this was an Entrepreneur magazine, regarding embezzlement losses during 2006. They said small businesses continue to suffer disproportionate fraud losses. The median loss suffered by organizations with fewer than 100 employees was $190,000 per scheme. This was higher than the median loss in even the largest organizations. So small businesses are having problems with employee theft. They're having problems with not knowing where their money is. And of course, if someone wants to steal from you, they will. The issue of Entrepreneur magazine that quoted the ACFE there also quoted CPA Gary Zune, who said, and what's the best way to prevent somebody from stealing from you? Don't hire them in the first place. Don't hire them.
Don't have an employee.
Yep. So, but besides for good hiring practices, which is a subject for another seminar, the best thing you can do is, we all want to trust our employees. We know our family wouldn't steal from us, our friends wouldn't steal from us. We want to know that our employees wouldn't steal from us, and on the whole, that's true. People tend to be honest. I try to look at the good side, and people tend to be honest. But honest people can be tempted, honest people can make mistakes. And I don't mean mistakes in bookkeeping, they can make mistakes in judgment. And so, if you have good accounting practices in place, checks and balances, then honest people are motivated to stay honest. A lot of people, if they found money on the ground, might be tempted not to look around real hard for who dropped it. But very few of us would go pick someone's pocket to take money out of it. In your business, if you've got generally accepted accounting practices, good checks and balances in place, all of a sudden now, instead of an employee being able to just borrow some cash from the till for lunch and pay it back tomorrow, or borrow some cash from the till for their rent, instead of knowing how easy it is to just pad their expense account a little bit once in a while, all of a sudden, instead of it being a kind of a casual, like they found money on the ground, now it's an actual effort to find ways to be deceitful and steal, and your honest employees are just not going to do that. Having systems in place like that will help your honest employees stay honest. If you have dishonest employees, again, like the CPA said, if people want to steal from you, they will. And hopefully between hiring practices and other HR resources. You can determine who those people are before you have problems. But for keeping your honest employees honest, hire an accountant. Hire professionals to do professional things. Hire, for instance, a professional web designer to design your website. When you're getting marketing materials done, you hire a professional photographer. If you're getting your car worked on, you'd have a professional mechanic work on your car. And any of us that are small business people, hopefully we're telling our prospects and suspects, hire a professional. I'm good at what I do. You focus on what you're good at, and I'll do what I'm good at. So, although most of us can manage our own bookkeeping, taking care of bookkeeping, which is just putting the numbers in, is one thing. But making bigger financial decisions, tracking how your business is going, professional accountants think differently from how most of the rest of us do. Well, actually, Sue and I both have an accounting background, which is one reason why I know how important this stuff is. But no small business person can afford an accountant full time, but you will save back an accountant's costs in the benefit to your business and the lack of loss and the positive flow in your business if you have an accountant. And also at the end of the year, when you pay a professional to prepare your business taxes, because we're smart enough not to try to do business taxes on our own, that professional will have better information from the accountant you've been using all year long. And instead of coming in with a bushel basket mess like he's used to, you're going to come in with neat books because you've been paying someone all year to help you keep things in place. Your tax preparer is going to have an easier job, and a professional tax preparer you're going to save more than you pay them just in the honest, ethical, legal ways that they're going to find you to save on your taxes. I absolutely advocate paying your taxes, but I don't advocate overpaying your taxes. I think the government gets plenty out of your pocket all of the time. If there are legitimate ethical ways for you to pay less taxes, a tax preparer, a professional tax accountant, is going to do a much better job of finding those than you will on your own. In the end, paying professionals for professional services is going to end up saving you money. For day-to-day work, you may just not have a head for accounting, in which case there are people, virtual assistants, like for instance Sue runs her own virtual assistant company, and you can use her for as little as 2 hours a month to take care of your bookkeeping for you. It can all be done over the internet. So all you do is you put she puts systems in place, and there are virtual assistants all over, quite a few right here in Lincoln, Roseville, Sacramento area. They put systems in place. You just stick with the system. Your books are always up to date. Your accountant checks on the systems that your accounting person in-house, your bookkeeper, has put in place. And now you've got a system so that your money is being managed properly. You've got advice from professionals on how to do that. And your honest employees know that this is how the money goes. This is how things work in this business. And there's just never any temptation to fudge or forget or borrow, because the systems will catch them. But then, once systems are in place to help everyone stay honest, then I also always advocate trust people. I'd much rather trust everybody, and then have a problem that one time, than to treat all 100 people like they're that one criminal that's going to steal from me. In the long run, I think you come out ahead and you have a lot less stress in your life too. So, managing people, make sure responsibility and authority match. Managing money, put systems in place, let them be the bad guy, obey the systems yourself for your money, and then make it a habit to trust that your honest employees are going to stay honest. And finally, marketing. I'm going to have a whole series of seminars just on marketing, because in a poll that I've been taking recently on my website, it's kind of close between hiring good people. The challenges that small business people are facing are hiring good people and getting new business. And marketing, the difference between marketing and sales is marketing is creating a demand for whatever it is you do, and sales is filling the demand that you've created. And if anybody wants to talk to someone about how selling happens, Andy, and you train salespeople, right?
Yes, I
And-
work with sales reps.
And I know Andy is a great communicator. So in my association with Andy, I have learned a lot about communicating with people about business. So and that's another reason that associations like this help, because you talk to other people who have different skills and you're always absorbing things. And
Thank you.
you're welcome. And so when it comes to advice in life, for instance, if you're looking for a new pizza place or you want to know how this suit looks on you, you don't walk out on the street and ask a total stranger. You don't dial a phone number at random and say, hey, eaten any good pizza lately? You ask people you know. When it comes to even trivial matters, but especially bigger matters, we're always looking for advice from people that we know. And so when it comes to selling to people, when it comes to marketing, the first thing we should do is be talking to the people that we know. It's better to talk to friends than it is to talk to strangers. Now, I'm not talking about selling to your friends. Selling to your friends is usually a really bad idea. But what you do is, first of all, we're all absolutely passionate about what we do for a living, right? If you're a small business person, you need to love what you're doing, or at least love something about what you're doing. Because if you don't love something, you may not love what you put your hands on every day. You know, a mechanic may not love getting greasy and banging up his knuckles, but he loves something about that or he wouldn't be doing it. So as long as you have that passion and you love what you're doing, then with all of the people that you know, your friends, your family, when you meet new people, you have new acquaintances, you should be sharing that passion with them. You should talk about that because it's something that you love. But then, rather than going the Amway route, when you see that look of terror in their eyes like, oh no, they're selling me something, that's when you let them know, and if you know somebody else who could use my services, I would so appreciate it if you just pass my card along to them, and I promise I'll take good care of them. Don't sell to your friends or your family. If they want something, they'll come to you. Make them beg, though. But don't go out and actively sell to the people who are close to you. It's always a bad idea. But ask them for referrals, because you love what you're doing, and if they like you, if they trust you, they'll be glad to let someone else know, hey, I know someone who does that, and they're good at it. They're a friend of mine or a friend of a friend. And now, instead of talking to strangers, you're talking to someone who knows something about you already. And whether we realize it or not, any of us that are in small business, most of the people who walk through your front door, call you on the phone, found out something about you before they did that. It's very rare that someone just looks up, I mean, other than even looking for a plumber. I needed to find a plumber. I called 3 friends and got recommendations. I didn't just look in the yellow pages. We're always looking for advice, and if you're always sharing what you know, what you do, what you care about with other people, they're going to go out and sell for you, not actively selling like a used car salesman, but every time the subject comes up, they're going to say, oh, I know someone who does that. Let me see. I've got their card. Here's their phone number. So start by talking to people that you know. And that's one reason why a lot of what's now often referred to as interruption marketing, radio ads, TV ads, newspaper ads, not quite so much, but ads where you're interrupting other people, taking their attention away from what they really wanted to do in order to try to sell them something. That's not really an effective way to sell, but creating relationships is how you're going to sell something. People are hesitant to take advice from or give money to a stranger, but if you're part of their good old boy network, they'll do business with you till the cows come home. And the last thing, real briefly, under marketing, is that people don't buy what they need, they buy what they want. Well, of course people buy what they need, but when something's a need, you need toothpaste, you need toilet paper, you need car tires, there are some things that you need, and when you need something, you have to buy it, you're going to go find the best deal. If you need toothpaste, I don't know that there is a luxury toothpaste. If there is, I don't want to know about it. When you need to go buy toilet tissue, you don't go buy fine, handcrafted Cuban hand rolled toilet tissue. You just go get the 48-pack economy roll from Sam's or Costco. When something's a commodity, I have to have it, it's a commodity, I'm just going to get the best deal. If that's how you're selling your product or service, is selling yourself, if you are trying to convince people that they need you, if they need you, you just became a commodity in their mind, and now all they want is the best deal. If they need you, well fine, maybe I have to buy this, I want the lowest price possible. Well, you can't compete on price, not as a small business person. My favorite marketing guru, Seth Godin, is fond of saying, you can't steal the giant's lunch. If you try to go steal the giant's lunch, the giant's going to eat you for lunch. You cannot compete with Walmart on price. If you sell cheaper than Walmart, then you need to hope that you don't sell very much, so you're not losing much money. Instead, become a want. Become a luxury. Anything can be a luxury. Shoes can be a luxury. Yes, everyone has to have shoes or you're running around barefoot. But if you're just selling a need, you gotta have shoes, I'll sell you shoes. Now you're competing with Payless. But if you're selling really finely crafted footwear, or if you're selling incredible service or a great guarantee, now you're selling a luxury. And when people are buying a luxury, when people are buying a want, cost isn't even on the table. How many people would really love to take an economical vacation? I want a really cheap vacation. You don't want to spend a lot of money, you want as much as possible for your money, but really, when people are taking that once-in-a-lifetime trip to Europe or going to Hawaii, you save up every penny you can, you borrow money if you have to, you do whatever you can to pump as much money as you can into that vacation, because that luxury, you don't care what it costs, you want it to be the best it can be. When you're buying a car, you're buying a new suit of clothes for a special event, when you're buying a brand new stereo with a big TV at home, money is not the object. People spend as much as they possibly can for those luxury items. Because other than the practical limitations of how far the credit cards go, cost isn't on the table. So anything that you're selling needs to be positioned as a want, a luxury. People need to know that what you do, what you're selling, your product or service is going to make them smell better and taste better. They're going to be smarter and better looking. And if you make it a want, then you're a luxury and cost isn't on the table. If you're a commodity, then you're competing on price and you just can't do that. So when it comes to marketing, talking to friends is better than talking to strangers, and people don't buy what they need, they buy what they want. So be a want. So, quick review, our entrepreneurial mentality. Profit is like health. It's not the end result, it's part of the process. And there is no reality, there's only perception. How people see you is how they see you, so you have to project an image that matches who you really are as a professional. When it comes to managing people, balance, responsibility, and authority, or you end up as Joe and Mr. Waturi, and it's just sad, and it doesn't work in business. And when you're managing money, have professionals help you put systems in place, then obey the systems, let the systems take care of keeping your honest people honest, and then just go about your business trusting people because it's a better way to do business. And when it comes to marketing, talking to friends is always better than talking to strangers, and people don't buy what they need. They buy what they want, so be a want. Thank you very much. I hope that you got at least one good point out of this tonight, and I know we'd send in invitations if anybody wants to discuss business issues. We've got some smart business people in this room, I know, so we can have a conversation about business. We can eat scones and drink coffee. We can watch the rest of Joe versus the Volcano. But thank you very much for coming out tonight. I really appreciate it. And we're going to create a series of more detailed seminars about common sense entrepreneurship. And my goal is, of course, to make a business out of this. So if I can do anything to help any of you, my consulting services are available.
Thanks.
Thank you.